"Who wants to go for a picnic?" shouted Daddy Pig. "Me," said Peppa. "And me," said George. "I thought you might say yes," said Daddy Pig. "The camper van is packed and ready to go." "I'll just lock up," said Mummy Pig, and she went in the house while Daddy got Peppa and George in the van. All ready, off they went. "Are we there yet?" said George. "George, we've only just left the house," said Daddy Pig. Actually, it didn't take them long to get to their favourite picnic spot. Peppa and George rushed down to the lake to see if they could see any jumping fish. "I saw one," said Peppa, and they rushed back to tell Mummy and Daddy had started getting the picnic table out. "Food will be ready soon," said Daddy, "so don't go too far." They ran off towards the lake again. Peppa watched the lake carefully, and this time 2 fish jumped out. "Picnic's ready," shouted Daddy. Peppa ran back. She was hungry. "Where's George?" said Mummy. They all looked around for him. "There he is," said Peppa. George was at the top of a tree. "George, come down," shouted Daddy. "I can't," said George. "I'm stuck." A little distance away, a periscope was scanning the area and fixed its gaze on George. "There's a pig in trouble," said Ryder. "Seems to be stuck up a tree." This was the Paw Patrol lookout, always on standby to carry out a rescue. "Marshall, this one's for you and your ladder." Marshall slid down the chute and got into his fire truck. He sped towards the picnic spot. It didn't take him long to arrive. "Marshall here to help," said Marshall. "Thank you," said Daddy Pig. "George is stuck." "Don't worry, I'll soon have him down," said Marshall. He got his truck in position and started raising the ladder. George was now able to reach the ladder and, relieved, managed to climb down. "Thank you," said George. "I won't climb trees again." Daddy Pig thanked Marshall. He told him they were just about to eat and would he like to join them. He agreed and they sat around the table. Mummy Pig had found a big juicy bone for Marshall. Peppa Pig and her family were on their holidays. They were staying in a villa by the beach. "We're going to have a barbecue today," said Daddy Pig, "and we've got some special friends coming over to join us." Peppa and George were excited. They decided to go on their dune buggy while Daddy Pig lit the barbecue. "This is fun," said Peppa. Not too far away, Minnie Mouse and Mickey Mouse were getting ready to catch the Mickey Mouse Express train to take them to the beach. They'd been invited to a barbecue. The train arrived and off they went. When they arrived at the beach, Daddy Pig greeted his friends. Peppa and George came running to see them. "Come and play with us," they said. Daddy Pig told Peppa and George not to go too far away because they were starting to cook the food. Mickey and Minnie went to the water's edge, but nobody noticed George slip away. George was in the dune buggy, but he'd never driven it before and couldn't actually reach the steering wheel. Suddenly there was an almighty splash as the buggy went right into the sea. Everybody looked to see what caused the splash. "George, are you all right?" said Daddy Pig. "Yes," said George, "just a little stuck." Mummy Pig suggested they get Granddad Dog to pull the buggy out, and Daddy Pig went to call him. Granddad Dog had a sleepy garage in a sleepy town and was very pleased to help. It didn't take him long to get there. He backed his truck into position, attached the hook to the buggy and got ready to pull. The buggy moved easily and was soon back on the sand. "Thank you," said George. Daddy and Mummy Pig went to see if George was all right. He promised not to drive the buggy again on his own. Daddy Pig thanked Granddad Dog and asked him if he wanted to join them for some food. He agreed. Daddy Pig gave everyone a burger and they enjoyed the rest of the day on the beach.
One day, Princess Sophia invited some friends round to play. Princess Penelope and Ruby arrived together in the Hello Kitty train. Penelope rang the doorbell and Sophia invited them in. Soon after, Mummy Pig drove Peppa and George to the palace. "Hello, Peppa and George," said Sophia, and in they went. The palace was fantastic on the inside. "Let's go in the garden," suggested Sophia. "I can show you my animals." So excitedly, they all rushed off. Except George. He could smell something delicious. There was a plate of cookies just left on the table. He climbed up on the chair, then onto the table and took them. He sat down and ate the entire plateful. Nobody had even noticed as they were all having fun in the garden. Queen Miranda then came in to see if anyone wanted anything. "George, what happened to the plate of cookies?" she asked. I'm sorry, he muttered. They look so delicious, I couldn't help myself. Oh, George, you are naughty. Come on, let's make some more for the girls. After a while, the girls returned from the garden. Would anyone like an iced bun? Asked Queen Miranda. I thought we had cookies, said Sophia. No, we didn't have any cookies, did we, George? No, he replied. So everyone took a bun. Well, almost everyone. George, don't you want one? Asked Peppa. No thanks. I'm actually quite full.
George loved his new music player he got for Christmas. He was always dancing to his very loud music. George, would you please turn down the music? It's giving me a headache, shouted Mummy Pig. OK, sure, said George as he carried on dancing. It wasn't just Mummy Pig that was getting annoyed with the music, but everyone in the village. His music was so loud he couldn't hear the angry crowd outside his house. They even knocked on his door, but he still couldn't hear them. Right, something needs to be done, said Queen Elsa. He needs to learn a lesson. Let's call in the superheroes. They'll know what to do. Soon, the superheroes arrived at the house. We have a plan, they said. How about we move his house to teach him a lesson? So Iron Man got ready to lift the house. What's happening? Cried a panicking George, quickly turning off his music. And soon the house was sinking underwater. Then all of a sudden Iron Man appeared. George, do you know why we have done this? It's because everyone in the village is annoyed with your loud music. So we moved your house away. Just because you like your music loud doesn't mean everyone else likes it. Do you understand? I do. I will never play music loud again, said George. George, it's all right to play loud music, but only for a short time. Otherwise people will get annoyed. Have you learnt your lesson? Yes, I have. That's good, said Iron Man. And with that, the house was moved back to the village and everything returned to the way it used to be.
It was a lovely sunny autumn day and everybody was having fun. Zoe and Danny were at the cafe enjoying a delicious cookie and a strawberry milkshake. Pocoyo, Candy and Peppa were at the duck pond sailing their toy boats. Rebecca, Susie and Miss Rabbit were having fun on the swings. And Emily and Pedro were busy on the slide. Mummy Pig was enjoying the fresh air and sunshine when Grandma Pig hurried out of the house looking a little worried. "Mummy Pig, have you seen George?" she asked. "We were supposed to be making some chocolate cupcakes, but he's vanished and I can't see him anywhere. Did he come outside?" "Oh dear, I haven't seen him at all," said Mummy Pig. "He can't have gone far. I'll have a look for him." So she bustled over to the cafe to ask Zoe and Danny if they had seen him. "No, we're sorry we haven't seen him here," answered Danny. Mummy Pig then hurried over to the duck pond. "Have you seen George?" she asked Peppa. "No, sorry Mummy," said Peppa. "He hasn't been here." "Have you tried the swings?" she suggested. So Mummy Pig went to the swings. "George hasn't been here," answered Miss Rabbit. "We haven't seen him at all." Mummy Pig was starting to get worried. The slide was the last place to look, but when she asked Emily, she got the same response. "Oh dearie me, what are we going to do?" she said sadly. Just then, Pedro, who was standing at the top of the slide, started shouting excitedly. "I can see him!" he exclaimed and pointed to the top of the house. Naughty George had climbed on top of the roof. "George!" she shouted. "How did you get up there?" "Don't move! We'll try to get you down." A large crowd had started to form in front of the house. "Help!" cried George. "I'm stuck!" "I'll get a ladder," said Pocoyo, and off he went. He soon returned, but the ladder was not long enough to reach George. "I could get my helicopter," suggested Miss Rabbit. "What a great idea!" "Can I come too?" asked Peppa. "Yes, of course," agreed Mummy Pig. And so Miss Rabbit and Peppa climbed into the helicopter and off they went. Soon the helicopter arrived at the house with the winch lowered, and it hovered above George. George was securely tied into the harness, and the helicopter gently carried George safely down to the ground to a big cheer from the crowd. "Oh, thank goodness you're safe!" exclaimed Mummy Pig. "But you must not climb on top of the house again. It's very dangerous and very naughty," she scolded. "I'm sorry, Mummy," said George quietly. "I'll never do that again. It was far too scary." And the crowd all gave a sigh of relief. "Who wants to go to the seaside today?" shouted Daddy Pig. "Me," said Peppa. "And me," said George. "I've packed the barbecue in the camper van," said Daddy Pig. Mummy Pig came out of the house with a hamper of food. "Let's go," shouted Peppa. They all climbed into the camper van and off they went. Eventually, they arrived at the seaside. "This seems like a good place," said Daddy Pig. Peppa ran straight down to the sea, while Mummy and Daddy Pig got the barbecue out. George tried putting up the picnic table, but needed a bit of help from Peppa. Daddy Pig unfurled the awning on the camper van to give them a bit of shade. "That's better," said Mummy Pig. "Can we go into the sea now?" said Peppa. They all got changed and ran down to the sea. "Stay close to the shore," said Mummy Pig, and they all waded into the sea. They started splashing each other, having a really fun time. "Where's George?" said Mummy suddenly. They looked around but couldn't see him. "There he is," said Mummy, and they saw George out on the small island. "I told you not to wander off," said Mummy. "It's not very deep," said George. "I walked over, but I'm a bit tired now." Just then they heard a train coming. It stopped by the beach. "It's Dora the Explorer," said Peppa. Dora got off the train. "Is everything all right?" said Dora. "Well, George is on that island, and although the water's not very deep, it's a bit cold," said Mummy Pig. "Don't worry," said Dora. "I was going to have a row in my boat anyway. I'll fetch him back." Daddy Pig told George to wait for Dora. They all helped Dora into the water with her boat, and she rowed across to the island. George jumped in and Dora rowed back. George got out and said sorry to everyone. "I won't wander off again," he said. "It's a bit dangerous, isn't it?" "Thanks, Dora," said Daddy Pig. "Will you join us for something to eat?" "I'd love to," she said. While Peppa and George had a shower, Mummy and Daddy Pig started the barbecue. They all gathered around ready to eat the food and agreed that it had been a really great day despite George's little